Now, I want to get down to the simplest possible nitty-gritty. welcome into this week's broadcast of the Esports Tower Rumble in Valorant. We're broadcasting it live from the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. This is the 8th week of the Fall Valorant Rumble series at Esports Tower and the last week before the club championships to end the season. On the show tonight, we'll bring you two incredibly exciting matches from our round one of the bracket stage that feature some teams returning and also a returning champion. And then next week, we will have our semifinals as well as our grand finals to end the night. I'm your host, Michael Fisher. Joining me to call of all of the action is James Fuffy Serpa. And Fuffy, there's actually, as I said, returning teams tonight and then a team returning as well in the Southeast Seminoles that we'll get at the end of the night. But for longtime Rumble Valorant viewers, the landslides are back. Of course, we know their story. If you hadn't seen them, they dominated in the spring, won 7 straight grand finals. Fall's been a little bit tougher for them, but they finally got over the hump. They won one, and then a couple of their players, their top fragger, Mr. Memphi, as well as their Killjoy main, Solix, decided to step away from Valorant, get a break. They have come back. They have remade their roster here tonight, Fuffy, behind the back of Prestige, who we saw last week. How do you go about reconstructing a roster and getting them to all come together for a moment like this? It's
going to be very difficult to essentially just completely rebuild, as you were saying. But I think the key for them is going to be all being on the same page, and that's what we're going to see in this first game that they play today, because you know, they want to win, but more importantly, we want them to look cohesive. It can't just be individuals for this one.
And the bigger thing, which I want to get your opinion on, is we know Prestige is a very talented player. I've been told he was the one who spearheaded putting this team back together. He is actually unavailable for this game, has something else going on. He will be able to rejoin next week if they are able to win tonight, and he'll play in the semifinals and grand finals, I'm told. How do you play when the player who's your captain, most likely your IGL, the one who spearheaded this effort, is out for this game tonight?
It's all about fundamentals for them. They need to understand just playing together in this one in order to beat the Monsoons, and they just it's communication, it's fundamentals. They can't just rely on individuals, as I said before, but they also can't just rely on sort of the overall team plan, because part of that is thrown out of the window when you're missing a player.
Something else that can help them or help the Monsoons Red Squad, who's looking to make a run, and it still would probably be an upset because we know how talented the landslides can be. Our Doc's keys to the game, which are focus your angles and flank, know your win condition, count cards and call abilities, and of course in Valorant, the easiest thing or the hardest thing, but always the key is click heads. Today's Doc's keys presented by Esports Tower. Score pro advice at esportstower.com. Improve your game sense, improve your team play, improve your performance under pressure. You'll get matched with great players and professional coaches to help you rank up. We head to Icebox for the bracket stage round number 1 with the landslides taking on the Red Monsoons. Again, first time seeing our new landslides rosters. This is not the landslides of old. If you're just joining us and you're like, oh, they're going to roll. This will be a new roster. Red Monsoons playing with a bit of a mixed roster with some firepower that could shake things up. I'm very excited to see. I'm biased, I'll admit. I want to see how the landslides perform because we know this can be an upper echelon team, Fuffy, but we don't know what to expect with all of the changes they've had since last time.
Yeah, I really want to see them do well because obviously I wasn't around casting those previous games, but I hear the stories, you know? I understand the legacy of a team like the Landslides, and if they come here to play and they begin to show a dominant form again, then we can get some amazing matchups going forward in this bracket. But first, they're going to have to brave this challenge today.
So we hop into Agent Select. I mean, your thoughts on Icebox? I mean, it usually is the map where Vipers can shine, but what do you like about the map, and how can either team come out with a win? What are kind of Fuffy's keys to winning Icebox?
I would say it's all about the executes and then getting in the proper places for post plants, because it's going to be very tough. You can easily get a site with a Viper wall. That's why Viper is so powerful on this map. But once you have that, if you're in bad spots for the post plant, you're going to get torn apart. So they need to be in positions to play off of each other if they want to make this attacking side do well. And on the other's hand, when you're defending, you need to make those attackers uncomfortable and have great retakes.
I am excited outside of the Vipers because I think we'll see a lot of Vipers just chilling on B. Is the Jet matchup. It's always kind of a very key matchup in Valorant. The op matchup. Rezkin and Froyo, from my memory, have both had fantastic op moments and then some op moments where you kind of sit there saying, maybe you should just stick with a Vandal instead. So I'm curious how that sort of play will go. Other than that, the agent selections seem pretty standard. I'm curious about the double duelist for the Monsoons Red there with the Jet and the Rain. I'll be curious to see how that goes, but they're defending right now, and the Landslide's going to kick it off, trying to hard rush A.
Yeah, this is just going to be sort of the execute that I was talking about. Wall goes up in their face to try and slow them down as they're just stuck up here. A lot of utility in their face and a lot of rotates already over. This is just about going to be a 5-on-5 here on site.
Oh, the dog just misses from Viper, but he knows where they are. Spike gets put down. A great Viper wall to wall off the team, as well as the Sage wall. Full defense here for the Landslide despite them attacking, and Monsoons Red just can't get on the point, and that's a huge win for Vapor on the backside.
Yeah, now they've gotten into these powerful after plant positions. The problem is if they overextend just a little bit too much, it now puts them into a disadvantage as the retake comes in, and they hemorrhage even more picks. Only one player left. It's Rezkin. He only has 22 HP to try to get this one.
That's a great pick by Boone there, and I love the Landslide's comp here. I mean, the double wall on A, I mean, usually you expect a Viper to just kind of wall off B, and that's kind of their main role in attacking. You just kind of deal with what Viper can bring, maybe get some lineups on B with the Twin Bite, but I love the double wall strat they pulled off there to basically make that Spike unapproachable.
Yeah, on a pistol round, there's not a lot of utility that you can buy, and if you do, you're sacrificing a lot of firepower. And so, you know, when the Landslides invest in the utility to block everything off, the Monsoons don't have very much to counter it. And that put them in a tough position where they had to drop that round, and likely this one as well, as they do not have the firepower behind just sort of this save and the bonus round coming through. First pick found for the Landslides, continuing to go forward. Froyo's all the way on the other side of the map, going to be catching one in the side. That's coaxial down. They all are falling. Sunny Lee should fall as well. It's just a matter of whether the Landslides make this a flawless.
Ooh, almost had the right click onto Boone, but there's the flawless you were talking about. And the huge thing that I think is going to be the big question for the bonus round is you saw Froyo went with the save, and there's the answer to my question before I can get it even out. Gets 2 picks, and he is opting round 3 for the Landslides. Just going to go with that light armor, but that is very, very scary if you're Monsoons Red.
Yeah, and wherever Froyo decides to pick with this, there's not going to be anything sort of to respond. If they're in a one-on-one duel, they just kill faster. So it's just all about sort of figuring out for the Monsoons where Froyo is going to be and trying to negate them. Don't even take that fight, just avoid it, because the op is so powerful in this game.
The Landslides, by the way, didn't take the bonus. 2 of the members with Spectres ended up upgrading to ARs. Only Boone kept his Spectre. Interesting that the Landslides kind of want to go for the win more strat and not rely on their bonus round guns against the full buy, as we see the dog come out from Vapor there. Can't quite get up to the 2nd floor, and now the Landslides are kind of stuck because Froyo hasn't gotten a pick with this op that I think they were expecting.
Yeah, they can get the spike down, but just completely surrounded now. There's going to be a lot more invested in this round that the Monsoons can use to retake, and so they will into this 4-on-4. Boone just going to try to reveal where the defenders are coming from, but it doesn't matter if they know where they're coming from because the bullets are coming onto heads. It's that Doc's key, just click heads, amazing!
Oh my gosh, yeah, Doc's keys right there. How about the triple headshot for Boone?
Help a girl out.
Even picking up, he was the only person who didn't upgrade, but he just takes the AR from Cruz, and he absolutely pops off with an insane Vandal spray here. Just a great predict on the wall, too.
Yeah. He plays around it, sort of creates a brand new angle to this map and uses it to perfection. The Landslides, it's sort of worth it now that they upgraded, they played to win. They made sure to have all of the upgraded weapons so that they could hit headshots like that. And now, again, they've pushed Monsoons onto a very poor buy, into a very rough financial situation. Ooh, Hunter's Fury coming out. Not going to find a pick, but it clears out a couple of those angles so that now they can go for another take here on A.
Strategy's the same. You throw up the Sage wall. The Viper wall cuts off the flank from Majabis, but I think the Viper wall did just go down.
Yeah, that is an interesting
They have 2 flanking, actually.
Yeah, this could be sort of the counterplay. They understand where these execs are coming in, so instead they're going to put pressure on the backside, and because they have 2, they can get that trade out and continue to advance behind. But again, it's just the headshots, all in favor of the land slides as they slide into a 4th round, continuing their flawless streak here on Icebox.
And Monsoon's Red, I almost say they pulled that play off, Fuffy, a round too early because they were trying to flank, I believe, with a Spectre and a Sheriff, which got them a 1-for-1. But if they make that trade this round where they're going to have full buys, I think they would have pulled it off better because now you have to think the landslides are going to predict that flank through their own spawn. But I will say they're not going to change anything. They have basically the same plan. Sage has got the spike. You can assume Fangsies is going to want to get down, put a wall down, and immediately plant. And they're kind of just daring Monsoon's Red to figure out a way to stop this A-rush.
I think this is where the struggle comes in for the Monsoons, having 2 duelists. The Jett and the Reyna can't really get much done. They don't have anything to slow down this hit besides perhaps a Jett smoke, but that's not going to last for very long.
They get a 1-for-1 trade. They do take out the Sky. There's no Seekers available. You've got another flank on the bottom of your screen from Maj Abyss, though I might be predicted here by Froyo.
Oh, he has it in mind. He's going to be able to post up with this operator. If anyone walks into that, that is a scary prospect. But instead, Maj Abyss hears all the footsteps, so he's going to play back just in this off angle to line up a headshot and even get back to take another fight. The problem is he loses that one out against Froyo. So the landslides regain the control of their own spawn. But in a 2-on-3, they have to pick a place and they have to commit together. It's all about whether the Monsoons can either read this or if one of their individuals can go massive, as they're essentially going to try to force a 2 versus 1. Oh, a push up behind means that they have to go fast, and they are sprinting straight into this B site all around. Both teams just sort of regrouping here. It's going to be a 2-on-2, likely after plant, once they realize that the site is open. Oh,
Kavito gets picked off trying to put the twin bite down to get the plant down. That means Froyo's got a frag out here. If you're Monsoon's Red, you just play for time. You don't have to worry about pushing. I think they realize that. They'll push him when the time goes down. He gets 1 onto Rezkin, but unfortunately cannot find Cruz.
Ooh.
Might look for an exit frag here. Ends up getting him, but too little, too late.
Those kills are crucial for Froyo. That is going to just wreck the money of the Monsoons. They win a round, yes, but now they're in a rough situation again. Having to buy up shotguns, a pistol, shotguns sold just for an SMG instead. They're figuring things out. They've got decent firepower, but it's not great.
And as you mentioned, the other thing is Froyo had dropped the op for the Vandal, which is a great play in a 2-on-3. He was able to toss that Vandal to a teammate and rebought the op. Those kills allowed him to be able to do that even on the loss. You can see this time the landslides are more than ready for a Maj Abyss flank. We'll see if he wants to pull it off. He's sitting in tubes right now.
Yeah.
Seekers are going to come, though, and I think they're going to find Cruz right there. And he is down.
That's the importance of the op. When they try to push into you, it becomes a dangerous weapon, and now the landslides push right up into them. Sage wall down, they can plant, and with such a big advantage, I don't really see any way that the Monsoons can get back into this one, barring a mistake from the landslides. I'd almost like to see a save if they have the discipline.
To have Seekers and the Viper ult, though neither of those are great when you're looking for a retake. As Vapor's going to get a double, it's all up to Sunny Lee. It's a triple for Vapor, and it's a flawless for the landslides, and just like that, they're back in command.
Yeah, Monsoons, just like that, they're out of it. Their cash completely wrecked. I would have loved to see them save those 3 weapons so that they have a chance up in this next round, but instead they just get torn to pieces by Vapor. And so it's just a save round for them. It's the landslides. They've already gotten up to 5 rounds. We'll see if they get up to 6. It's essentially guaranteeing at least a tied half here.
And Monsoon's Red probably next by Fuffy have the all-powerful slam every ult in the game button. I mean, they don't combo that well with the Seekers, and then you have a Killjoy and a Viper ult. As the dude looks like we have a pause here. Is Vapor is AFK, and as his teammates surround him. No, I think you're right. I think the discipline probably look for a save that round. Maybe didn't want to have mismatching ecos could be the sense, but I'll be curious. I don't think you rip every ult on a save round. That is very risky, though it can even the playing field. If they rip every ult in 2 rounds and can't pick up the victory, I mean, that's going to signal to a lot of people that the landslides, while it's a new roster, are potentially back to their form because they have made quick work of those first 6 rounds. I mean, really the only thing separating them from a 6-0 was a few seconds that Cruz was able to hold back before getting taken out. But in theory, the landslides have actually won every round because they even killed everyone on the round they lost.
Yeah, in theory, I think they've come out with the advantage off of every round. And I really, what I see right now is that they just have a really good A exec, and that's all that they need. There's no response. There's no adaptation yet coming out. And what the Monsoons need to do is they need to realize, all right, we're going to play back. We're going to play for the retake. We're going to save our utility instead of burning it all and having nothing. Then they can use their own Viper wall to wall them off. They can push forward. They've got smokes. They've got flashes to try to deal with this. But the problem is they're not using it together. Whereas on the execute, the landslides are using it perfectly. They've got those 2 walls from the Sage and the Viper placed in the right spots so that they can just go straight in. And now it looks like they have a similar exec here on B as they're just running it up together. And they have already gotten the first pick.
And the crazy thing is, with all of their success on A, Vipers who live on B site Icebox aren't out there. Sunny Lee was in mid, which means this was a free site to plant. Majabis does get a pick onto one, though Kavito's coming back, looking for a second. Gonna get pushed up here by Majabis and Cruz. It is a 3-on-3, and the Monsoons Red have a couple of ults if they want to drop them. As knives do get ripped there.
Yeah, perhaps this site might be a little bit more friendly for their retake. They can just take the gunfights, and they're actually winning them out. Push forward, the ult popped, but negated. The problem, I was going to say is that Froyo's in a 1-on-2, but now it's just a 1-on-1. A beautiful headshot with the knife, and the operator to find the final. Landslides, another round on the board. This time, they show they can take B.
A little bit scarier on B. As you said, it did come down to a 1v1, and Froyo ends up getting a huge win. I mean, massive overkill with the op because Sunny Lee was about 5 HP when he lands this shot. I'm curious if they go back. I think they did that just to kind of throw them off their trail because A's been a lot more successful. And as you said, A forces Monsoons Red to play a bit more passive to wait for the retake. And it also just totally neutralizes the Viper, who's basically picked to shut down B side on Icebox. But that's just not happening for Monsoons Red. As you see, their Sky's the one playing solo B defense.
Yeah, what I really like here is the fact that off of a timeout, they realize that this is when the Monsoons want to try to adapt, and instead they just mix it up. They throw in the adaptation to the adaptation that hasn't even come yet, and now at this point they sort of scare the Monsoons into just having to worry about these executes as again, Spike goes down. There is a defender Killjoy to push them all back, but they're pushed right back into the players on the flank, and they get the kills. With that, yes, there's one player detained, but the rest of them are doing all of the work. Froyo, one on the operator, will go down. Rezkins has made this one at least seem doable. The problem is that they're both stuck outside of this door, and it's being held. A great crossfire for the landslides.
That was a huge 1v1 win for Kavito on the back of the spawn. Sunny Lee looking for the flank. I think if Sunny Lee wins that, that's a different round. The other thing that's interesting to note is the Seekers got ripped from Monsoons Red. The problem was Sky was over on B site. The Seekers never made it to their destination. They timed out before they got to anyone. So that was almost just kind of a wasted ult there. And now all of those ults we hyped up for Monsoons Red are basically reset except for the Viper ult, but you kind of have to just pre-rip that A and force a rotation because it is not a great retake ult, especially on the A side.
Yeah, I like how they've grouped up here and are just pushing through mid. Sova ult going to try to clear angles, but there's no one there, and eventually they'll realize that A site's open because the hard flank is coming in. Their own Viper wall, though, it's blocking this off. The flash is great, but the spray even better. Somehow 3 flanking players, and they find nothing.
That's a phenomenal play for the landslides. I just don't know what you do if you're Monsoon's Red as Fangsy picks up the double for another flawless. I mean, you did everything you could. It was a save round, so you were a bit outgunned, but you go for the aggressive three-man flank, and as you said, Fuffy, they get 0 kills for it. I don't even think they got anyone close to dying. That was so well predicted by the landslides. It really feels like the landslides are just a step ahead right now.
Yeah, I want to see the Monsoons put down, let's say, a Viper wall over there on A to just try to block off the hit that's coming in and play with that Viper wall, because they need to disrupt this execute before it comes in, because we've seen them continually try to retake and fail on it. Though now they pop the Viper ultimate there on A, but it's mid that's the focus. Every time the Monsoons adapt, the landslides just a step ahead. Seekers coming out, Cruz already revealed by the Recon Bolt. And with the flash through, they are in to the defender's spawn, basically. All the way behind them is Vapor, and now they just get B.
They get the plant at B. The Viper ult just sitting there sadly on A. Sunny Lee now realizing the unfortunate series there as Vapor picks up a 4K in the round. I mean, I don't know how you explain how you continually stay a step ahead. I mean, that was the right play for the Viper ult, is to rip it early on A. Maybe could have waited till at least had confirmation, but even when it got ripped, they were all still pushing through mid. The landslide just seemed like they have Monsoon Red's number and know exactly what play they're going to call at any time.
Yeah, this is some great team play for the landslides. The way that they're running these executes, it's just beautiful. They make it look like art.
Now they're back to A, and there is no answer for Monsoon's Red this time. Can't even
look. They got a shotgun up close. This could be the spoiler, or it could just be found out. Instead, Vapor jumps on top, and so Sunny Lee can get one. Do they realize where Vapor is, though? Instead, they're going to just go down to Fangsy. Vapor getting one as well, and again, they all fall one by one. Not flawless, but very close. The landslides don't even have to worry about that. They have to have so much bank, so many credits built up on this winning streak. And now it's just a round for pride, and we'll see if the Monsoons can get it.
Landslides, as you said, just so far ahead right now. We should at least get a decent buy from Monsoon's Red this time. You see 2 ARs, also got a Bulldog, and Rezkin will probably settle for a Bulldog as well with. He's debating what exactly he wants to go with.
Monsoons are just, they have no one on B. They've just run it all the way over to A, and they're expecting the same execute that's come in, but instead the Seekers, the drone, just gonna figure out where they all are. Once they see where that sky is, they're gonna realize that is the usual B anchor gone. And so through mid, they rotate. Rezkin, those are some good shots. That gets them an advantage that they have rarely had. The thing is, they need a retake that they're rarely able to get gone through up against the Viper ultimate.
Spike gets planted. You did see Rezkin pop the knives. Cruz with a huge win on the flank onto Froyo as well. Puts it in a 2v4. We'll see what Fangsy and his Viper companion can do. Kavito right in the face of Rezkin, takes out the knives. Fangsy's going to take down Coaxel.
Oh, no.
Just like that, it's a 2-on-2, and Fangsy even has the res if he can find Froyo's body.
Oh, you can't lose this one here, Monsoons.
1v1. Karuz has the Empress. If he wants to rip it, gonna peek right into Kavito.
Oh,
and the
no.
landslides pull out the win and go up in the half 11-1 as we swap sides.
It's demoralizing. At this point, I was curious to see whether the Monsoons had an attacking side similar, if the landslides had, you know, maybe some interesting sort of smaller plays that they could pull out similarly to what they were doing on attack, where they just had great coordination to run an A exec, run a B exec, or get mid and rotate wherever they felt comfortable. But Instead, I think the landslides can just sort of roll over this. We're not going to see a ton of gun rounds unless perhaps the Monsoons have something to show in this pistol. But right now, I think their firepower has just been shut out, and without that confidence from, winning any rounds solidly, it's going to be tough for them to even hit those shots because the mental block could be against them. Froyo, a beautiful headshot and the backup, showing us how to play up against an Eggsy like this. Get the pick and get out of there, because what that gets for them is an ability to go for a retake and a nice shock dart to get that kill, keeping the landslides into advantage in this retake. And now they're just going to show the Monsoons how it's done. Up into the site, double peeked. Majibus can't get anything done. Coaxial will find one, but such low HP, they're going to need 2 crispy headshots here if they want to win this one. They are being slow pushed from 2 different players. Kvito gonna get that one. They can just defuse that spike and are already on to match point after winning just the second pistol.
Monsoons Red did get... They got the spike down. They got enough eliminations that I think they can at least attempt to buy up here on match point. You never want to have match point on the second pistol round for a host of reasons, but the obvious one is now you are going to be down in weapons by, a sizable margin, but they get 1 Spectre at least onto Coaxial and a Stinger as well, so they'll at least be somewhat even. We even see Kvito's going to rip the round 2 Phantom, no armor.
Wow.
I don't know if they stick it, actually. I thought maybe they were just going to fake us out. They're going to stick it. If Kvito goes down early and the Monsoons can get that gun, they can easily turn this round right around.
Yeah, the tough part on this execute is going to be without a Sage Wall. They're going to be struggling to do the same thing that the landslides were in that first half. Coming right up, already lost a first player. The Viper Wall is not even helping them out here on this take. These are the early fights that I was saying Monsoons needed to take that are just being taken and won by all of these landslide members. Cruz is the top frag for his team, and he's going to need to pull them out of a massive hole, but instead he falls down into it with the rest of his team, and the landslides take it on Icebox.
Well, that is a statement for the landslides that we're back. A huge win on Icebox. They will draw the Infernos, I believe, in our semifinal next week, and that'll be kind of fun. The Infernos were that second-place team last week, so that'll be an interesting matchup for them, but a huge congratulations. Well, going at it alone can only get you so far. Ultimately, if you want to increase your chances of success, you got to level up your teaming skills, and we just saw that with the landslide. They take a few weeks off. Prestige has built a very impressive roster that, oh, by the way, did that without Prestige, which no offense to any of those players, but we've seen Prestige pop off incredibly in some of these Esports Tower events. You can see how talented the landslides are. I cannot wait for next week in their semifinals, and if they make it to grand finals, how that goes, because they look loaded. Esports Tower really takes time to create teams of well-matched teammates. I want to give a shout-out to the coaches, and if you're watching and you haven't checked out Esports Tower clubs yet, you should. It is the fast track to rank up. Well, as we take a quick break here, I do want to get your quick thoughts, Fafi, on that very quick game, the landslides with a dominating performance and kind of sending a message to everybody else that, hey, we're back.
Yeah, I said that their protocols, their team play needed to be down, and it was perfect in that one. The way that they just ran those executes, they had one for each site so they could just keep mixing it up, and I don't even think they needed to get those mix-ups. They would have won out the half if they just exec'd A every round, but because they could change it up, they won out the half, only dropping a single round, and then they cleaned it up on the second. So I really think that this just shows the landslides are a team that is here to play. They have amazing team play, great fraggers, and I am very excited moving forward.
Well, speaking of very good teams, on the other side of the bracket, we have last week's returning champion, the lone high school team, the Southeast Seminoles. They're going to take on the Flood on Bind. That was the one map they dropped in the grand finals last week. We're told it's their worst map. Will that give the Floods the advantage, or will the returning champs move on to the semifinals for next week? We will find out right after this short break.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
The news says Gen Z is struggling. I've got news for them.
I wait tables, but last week I built a field hospital.
I put out a forest fire.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
I've saved lives. And led a team on patrol.
I serve.
Well, I go to school full-time.
While I work full-time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
Welcome to Esports Tower. Our website offers over 350 different fan favorites that are fully customizable. To begin, click on the product category or featured item to get started. To further customize your new gear, click the blue View More Designs button and pick your favorite design. Thank you for visiting the Esports Tower store.
Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
Welcome back to this week's broadcast of the Esports Tower Rumble in Valorant. We're broadcasting live from the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. It's week 8 of the Esports Tower Rumble. We already saw our one team advance to the semifinals. That is the Landslides, returning new roster, same old dominant form. They'll take on the Infernos next week. Now we get our returning champs, the Southeast Seminoles, on, allegedly, their worst map in Bind. They will take on the Flood, who have made some phenomenal plays. They had a runner-up, I think, in Week 6, came in 4th place in Week 7. Fish and Fuffy here calling all of the action. But before we talk about the Seminoles, we do want to take a moment to congratulate all of the Esports Tower Club members who have graduated from the clubs, have been offered scholarships across the country over the last 3 months. Esports Tower Club members have received over $1.2 million in scholarship awards. These students have not only worked hard on their in-game play, but have worked hard academically as well and have earned these scholarship opportunities. We could not be more excited and proud to see all of the opportunities that these players are getting, and cannot wait to see all the players that are all the opportunities they're going to get in the future. I mean, that Valorant number is only going to get bigger and bigger. But as again, congratulations to all of the Esports Tower Club players. It has been phenomenal to see them grow, see some new teams come in, see some old teams returning. And speaking of teams coming in, tomorrow in our Esports Tower Overwatch Rumble, you'll see some of the players that you see on stage here. Meridian Tech, who is in our Overwatch Rumble tomorrow. They are here in the Game Pants Esports Arena, gaming it out, getting ready to go. You will see them tomorrow in our Overwatch Rumble. So it is a jam-packed Esports Tower day, a jam-packed Esports Tower week. But now, Fuffy, we get to the part that you and I can really talk about here, and that is the Seminoles, who had a 3-game pretty epic series last week against the Inferno and struggled on Bind. Even though they came into the chat and said, hey, Bind's our weakest map. We don't really like it. And the Floods make a great play in a best-of-1. They forced the Seminoles onto Bind here to see who goes to the semifinals.
Yeah, I think the struggle for the Seminoles on Bind before was simply the fact that they had to rely on WASD's individual skill. He had an amazing, 1v5, I'm pretty sure. It was an ace clutch. I was shocked after it, but it was beautiful. And things like that are what kept them into it and made the Bind game look competitive, but they still ended up losing it out, and now they have to play it, albeit, I would say, against possibly a weaker team, but it all really depends on the day, so we will see how it goes today. Southeast Seminoles versus the Floods.
I do also want to clarify, we say it's their weakest map. They lost in overtime, right? It's not like they lost 13-3 or 13-4 and they got rolled. they still kept it competitive against the Infernos. And as you said, the Floods, at least on paper, look like slightly weaker of a team, but you never know. We don't play these games on paper. We play them on the actual field, and that's why we get Doc's keys to the game to help the Floods pull the upset, to help the Seminoles on their weakest map. Those are focus angles and flank. Know your win condition. Count cards, call abilities, and, of course, click heads. We saw that in our last game from the landslides. Boone putting on a demonstration on how to pull that one off. It's presented by Esports Tower. Score pro advice at esportstower.com. Improve your game sense, improve your team play, improve your performance under pressure. You'll get matched with great players and professional coaches to help you rank up. Well, let's hop in to our last map of the night. Next week, we'll have the semifinal and the grand finals. Southeast Seminoles coming off a championship, taking on the Esports Tower Floods, who have performed well and are looking to put that final piece together to make it to their first ever grand finals. As we said, Seminoles' weakest map, and as you alluded to, Fuffy, a lot of pressure on WASD, because if he doesn't perform as well, I think he dropped 30 in a loss last week. If he doesn't drop 30 again, this map might get out of hand, because the Floods and Infernos are very close. I think they're like right here. The Floods lost the Infernos like 13-12 or 13-11 a couple weeks ago to get to the grand final. So this could be a very tough map for the Seminoles. This isn't just a free win because you're last week's champions.
Yeah, I really want to focus in on that duel over towards Showers. I think that is going to be the most important part of the map, going off of what I saw before from the Seminoles in the grand finals last week, simply because of the fact that it was WASD that continually won that duel and put them in advantage situations. And really, if WASD does that again, can find that amazing impact, then I think they've got something into this one, because Aquin, one of the stronger players for the Seminoles, is a little bit nullified by the fact that the operator is slightly weaker given the sort of cut apart aspect of this map where you can't easily rotate and defend many spots at once.
You totally nailed it there. I think that's the other reason that maybe the Seminoles struggle on bind is because Aquin, as you said, maybe the best, as you said, one of the stronger players, maybe top 3, top 2. You can debate there in terms of oppers in the Esports Tower. Absolutely incredible. But bind really nullifies that op in a lot of angles unless you maybe want to look B long or maybe try and take bathrooms there on A down to that teleporter. So I'm very curious to see how they will perform. Orbit, a very phenomenal player now on the Sova. That'll be fun to see. And meanwhile, for the Floods, just a quick update before we hop into it. Just want to let everyone know the Tracker, Plastic Sweep, and Vega all filling in this week. So we've got some fill-ins for the Floods as well. So maybe a different roster than what we're used to seeing. We'll see how they come together. They all practice in the same pod as the players they're replacing, so it should be a smooth transition, but you never know.
Yeah, this is a fascinating, even just looking at the agents that they've picked into. Seeing omens on both sides is fascinating for me personally, because looking at that Champions event that we saw, Omen coming out for Ascend, and they won it all, becoming the first champions for Valorant. That was amazing to see. We'll see if they make the Omen look as good as we saw in that event. But right now, it's the Floods looking good, up 5-on-4 with Tracker, getting an early pick and looking for even more. A second fight, but Aquin wins it out, evening it up.
They're kind of split here. I think Rafa's just trying to draw attention to this A site, forces a rotation over there from Orbix. And now they'll rotate back to B. And they'll have a 4-on-2 on B. They'll have numbers advantage here for the Floods. And the other thing, Southeast doesn't have a great B-site defender. There's no Cypher that we're used to seeing on bind. They're going to have to try and hold it down with WASD and an Omen for Jim.
Yeah, but if they don't get a flash or anything to clear this angle, WASD basically just has a game of just a shooting range. And so they're actually going to teleport away. They use their utility to fake it, and they come right back. But with the rotates coming in, I would say this site is well reinforced, but the reinforcement has fallen. Orbitix is up close, but cannot contest that plant. And now, 3-on-4, they have to try and get back into it.
Great cam from Greeks there, able to spot out Orbitix and the rest of the incoming players as WASD up in heaven gets a pick onto Plastic Sleep.
Oh, this kill in Lamps is going to be important, and it goes the way of Rafa. An attempted trade. WASD gets another.
Well, that's a
he
huge
could be
win
trying
for
to do
Greeks,
it all. Yeah, the fact that Greeks gets it back means that Jim pretty much in an unwinnable spot and shot straight through the box. Greeks a 3-piece, and the Floods, they grab the first round.
Orbitix played Cypher last week. Am I wrong?
That would make
I thought he was the Cypher. So it's interesting he rotates over to the Sova because Bind is the one map where Cypher really loves to just kind of sit on that B side. I'm curious how they will adapt because, I mean, you see right there, I mean, obviously not much Cypher utility, but Greeks gets the triple on that Cypher, had a great cam as well. We do also get some interesting picks here from the Floods. We rarely ever see Phoenix, and we also get the Raze out as well as
unfortunate miss.
Not quite the lineup he was looking for there in Dahuka.
Yeah, I would say that if you have pocket strats with some of these characters, if you have an execute that heavily relies on Phoenix, or if you have a Sova lineup that can win you rounds, then these off-meta picks sort of end up making a lot more sense simply due to the fact that no one's going to be expecting them. They're not going to know the counterplay. They're not going to be used to going up against it. But if they can't get that going, then it's just going to look real awkward for them. Shock Dart gets some good damage onto Rafa, forces them to just back out of Hookah. They're going to give that one up and rotate around. They might be taking this teleporter again.
Last time, yeah, as you said, round one, they baited out a bunch of utility from Southeast and then just ripped the teleporter. Though you see on your map there, Aquin's going to have a great lineup on that teleporter if they go through. And that could be scary for the side of the
Aquin might
Floods.
find a player on the side here, coming up behind as the exec's coming in too. If Aquin deals with the lurker, no, he doesn't even look at him. He's gone past. As the fight comes here on the site, three of the players defending B go down. It's all onto Aquin, and he is completely surrounded, has tucked in close, but they know right where he must be. Good shot, though. Tries to just back up and recover a weapon, but instead going to fall in the Floods. They clean up that round up against pistols. They get the SMG bonus going through. And now we'll see if they can grab this one.
There was just no site defense for Southeast. They're very limited on their utility. I think the other interesting thing here for this map that we didn't quite touch on is we know Osley, as you see there, loves the shotguns, is an absolute phenomenal shotgun player. There's not a lot of cheeky shotgun angles unless you try and hold hookah or you want to hold lamp / U-Haul, whatever you want to call it. And that kind of nullifies his best area as well. And you can kind of see as this game starts why Bind might be a struggle for Southeast. It nullifies two of their players in Aquin and Osley quite hard.
Yeah, I would say that Southeast is a great team at playing off of each other, not in like set tactics, as we saw the landslides use to roll the first game. But instead, I think it's just their communication. They know what the other person is going to do, so they play together. But on this map, you see that rotation angle is all the way through spawn. It's so far. So they're going to get split up a lot, and that's going to make it harder for them to play off of each other, meaning they have to rely on individuals. That might put them in an awkward spot. Osley in a bit of an awkward spot. Found in U-Haul. Aquin's got one, but instantly traded out. Rafa straight through the teleporter. That's the spike. He's brought it over. They're going to be on the rotate. But it's going to be awkward if he goes alone here with this spike. Makes contact, shows it to them, and now they should know exactly where the hit's coming in, and it forces the Floods to just reset and regroup.
Aquin did rip that round 3 op, as you said, got a pick, but then shot across it to heaven by the Sheriff. We saw Osley get a pick with that judge as well, and now you're kind of stuck. They know you're in hookah, as you said, Fuffy. They flashed Sky in hookah, get caught out. I don't think they know that they have the spike, but you still know, and now they're just chilling in mid. They will have a 2-on-2 no matter where they go, and as you said, the rotation is very long through defender spawn.
I love this read. I love the fact that they're rotating another player over towards B.
They just held.
Yeah.
They just held.
The fact that they had lamps meant that they could just stack B, and the Floods just were in such an awkward spot. They were known, and they just decide to keep their guns, which is going to allow them to buy this round, which, honestly, that's a great decision from them because they all did it together. They didn't throw away any more bodies needlessly. Instead, they just said, all right, this round got a little awkward. We got picked off, but we've already taken the op out of their hands. Yes, they buy one back up immediately for Southeast, but at the same time, their money's not in a great position, so if the Floods can just win this round instead, they could reset Southeast. Aquin hits the reset button with that dash back out, missing a shot, but getting some information already fast up into hookah. The Floods have good map control here, and they reroute again. All the util just burned straight into Hookah, but they're heading up A short, and this is where Osley is going to have to defend with the judge.
Shotguns the dog. Dodges the paint shells, but they obviously know U-Haul is not a place you want to go. They're going to try and get a win on Orbitix, and they will. Here come the rotations. Aquin up in heaven as Plastic Sleep goes down to that judge. Spike does get planted, though. Osley trying to make a play with this judge. But now the Southeast doesn't have a great way to push in with a judge and an op.
Yeah, and the 2 flashes already burned early for Osley, so they're just sort of stuck. Oh, Fryer just flying out. That gives away a pick that could help them in the fight. But with the ult pop, the op missing, it's just going to be Southeast to give it up. Aquin has to go and save because all of his teammates fall around him. He's even being chased, but should be able to escape if he just heads to this long position.
Probably got to rip the teleporter. No, he should be safe. Ends up holding there. But a huge win for the Floods. And the other thing that's interesting is Aquin just, I mean, hasn't looked the same. It's only landed, I think, a couple of trades with the op. Hasn't gotten, I mean, missed, I think, 2 shots up in heaven that we saw there, and either one of those could have changed that round. Also missed the shot right off the rip on mid. Those are shots he's hitting last week, and without that, now you're not playing in that 5v4 that I think Southeast really dominated last week in the grand finals, was being up 5v4 because Aquin just did not miss.
Yeah, Aquin understood how important the op was. That's why we see them backing up to save. That's why we see them just like taking fights and prioritizing their own life, which is very important. But the problem is if you prioritize your own life too much, you're not going to get a lot of rounds.
Maybe the more I think about this Phoenix pick, the other thing that's interesting is you can kind of burn the run it back as an op spotter, right? If you don't know where the op is, you can say, I'll pop the run it back. Aquin will probably op me in the head as he gets Pryor right there pushing bathroom. So now Aquin's back online, and it's a 5v4. As there's that run it back used. He does get a 1-for-1 trade, which is huge, but Orbitix picks up another one onto Greek.
Massive headshots from Orbitix. Another fight for him. WASD trades it out. He essentially nullifies the impact that the run it back had by getting a double of his own. And at this point, when they reroute into A, Aquin is here to defend, and Aquin can even reset. Could dash back, still has that option in the cards. And so I like the fact that they're just sort of playing retake A, but now that they've rotated a second player over, it puts WASD in a must-win position. They've got to get one, and they've got to get out after doing that.
Do you see Osley kind of rotating back and forth, going to go up into elbow on B? If I'm Rafa here, I kind of like the Seeker's rip just to try and win this round.
That's true. Maybe after they get a pick, though, because if you just lose a fight like that, I would say it's unwinnable. But instead, Rafa wins them both. Pops the Seekers, gets the spike down. They know where this last player is coming from. Aquin has knives, but Rafa has a great flank revealed by the fact that they use the flash. But that means they can just get information, know that Aquin is on site, holding the angle perfectly, and a great headshot coming through. Rafa makes that so winnable, but Aquin knew exactly what they were doing. Crosshair placed perfectly and grabs a second one for Southeast.
Huge there for Aquin, and really it all starts with this huge trade and a win really by Osley. Because if Phoenix wins this, if Tracker's able to get that, you have a 2-on-2. Rafa probably doesn't take as much damage. But with the Seekers being used, that's a crazy play for Aquin, who has really done well, even though the op hasn't been landing and staying alive and keeping those 5,000 credits from having to be reused round after round after round.
Yeah, Aquin maybe not having massive impact, but getting the picks where they're needed. Playing the op well, and now WASD. They were the hero last time. This time, just going 1-for-1, but that's a little bit of information gained, and it puts the Floods in an awkward position as the player that almost won them last round with some great shots has now gone down. That's their, I'd say half of their flash is gone. They still do have Phoenix, and this could be an advantage of Phoenix, is that if your Sky gets a bit too aggressive, you instead have a Phoenix to flash in for the rest of your team. Omen ult coming through, and somehow Living getting the pick onto Aquin.
Wow.
I do not know how Plastic can get that one as they're coming straight into the site. This player up in heaven finds a second, cutting off every single rotation. The flash will keep them back, but they keep their life and continue to be a nuisance, a thorn in the side of Southeast, who have an impossible task here to try and retake this one. But Osley is already committed so far forwards, still in U-Haul, having to fight their way out of this one. It's going to be awkward with the shotgun.
Oh, that's a huge win for Jim up in heaven at such little HP. As you said, Osley with the shotgun outside of U-Haul does not have the range that I think Southeast needs on this retake. The dog will come out. It will spot Tracker, but it's not able to get there, and it's all up to Osley. Gets a huge win with the pistol. Looking for one more, but got caught in the blind. And the Floods win another round.
I'm shocked at the confidence from Osley to just pull out the pistol there, going, yeah, I know I have the shotgun, it's bad at range, so I'll just make the pistol work. Like, why even buy the shotgun at that point if they can make it work with any weapon that they choose? Still, though, that was just one pick compared to the many that the Floods grabbed.
I think that we have to talk about, though, is Plastic Sleep, right? The teleport up into heaven somehow lives the op and then kills Aquin through the blind. That changes that entire round with heaven and the op taken out.
Yeah, though this could change everything. Aggressive push in, and they've even dropped the spike. The problem is that there's many players to defend. Osley the last one, and now the pistol not looking great for him. Greeks gets that final kill, and the Floods, they brave the eco rush that was looking kind of scary.
I like the eco rush, right? Especially with how good at Osley is at landing blinds, at landing dogs. You're able to at least get 2, and I think 2 to 3 on an eco rush, on an eco round with pistols is usually what you're aiming for, right? You just want to dent that economy. So I think it's a trade you take. It even got enough for Aquin to get the op back, so I think that's a great round if you're Southeast.
Yeah, it's basically the minimum that you want on a push like that. 2 to 3 picks, as you say. You know, make the Floods sort of question, always be on their toes, because a push like that could be coming in. Right now, though, they're just clearing out hookah. It's interesting that no one's really focused showers. Aquin grabbing the pick onto the A player. Tracker going down. That's the singular lurk gone. And so the Floods either have to hit this go button now or reset and potentially run back into an Aquin who's aggressed up forwards. Ult coming out prior, out into sight. Gonna grab 1 kill, but immediately traded. Jim known in this high position, but it doesn't matter because the height advantage, the gun advantage, the head shot is there, and so Rafa has to clutch. We saw them in a 1-on-3 before, but in that one they got 2 immediate headshots, and in this one, WASD shoots them in the head to get Southeast a 3rd round. And their defense is looking a little better now.
Aquin, after a slow start, picks up 2 or 3 with the op that round, shuts down the lurk as well, up to 8 and 5. The top fragger for the team, and that just puts a question mark in Flood's head. The more Aquin gets those picks is, well, can we lurk? How do we figure out where Aquin is when we don't have the run it back online like they're missing right now? And you see Aquin is right up front. He's going to look for an immediate pick.
Oh, they have a flash, though. This is how you deal with an opper. The flash and the headshot. Tracker grabbing that one, and now that's one of the 2A players gone. The Cypher ultimate pops, so they know where the last one is. WASD stuck in showers. Pops their own ultimate, but immediate headshot. Second for Tracker. They double entry into this one. Rafa's got the 3rd, and these last 2 players are just in an unfortunate position. That is an op that could be received. Osley could save this one, or they could even try to retake, I would say, if they got that pick. Instead, it's just all Osley. Osley finding all of these frags, 3 already once, to get an ace clutch. The dog found out, and the spray is not good enough to get prior. Attackers, the Flood, they win it out. Osley makes it scary, but in that, gives up the guns that could potentially be saved. and really put Southeast in an awkward position economy-wise.
If Jim is able to get that win onto Greek, I think Osley can clutch in a one-on-one, but unfortunately, we see Pryor barely surviving. And now I'm curious, I think we're going to get another eco here from Southeast, and it looks like this time they're not going to go for the eco rush, though Aquin definitely looking to do something in a short.
Osley with a flash. I would say that's information, but no one fires off in response to that. Ultimate popped. And once this Phoenix runs on in and realizes that it's pistols, they should then know that they can just clean this one up together. They have the gun advantage, but Orbitix has the opener, and Aquin, that is a beautiful kill. Pushed up all the way behind, realizes they have to be proactive on a save round like this. And is, another great one. And with that, I think the Floods have a similar reaction to what we're having, just a bit of shock.
Another great flash, followed up by a second, but Pryor able to keep Rafa alive. I don't know how many of those guns the Southeast were able to pick up because they're still outgunned if they're looking with pistols.
They do have a flank, though. This can get really awkward if they don't look behind, and they don't. Orbitix opened it up with a Sheriff headshot. Now 2 on the Vandal and a thrifty round 1 for Southeast, all off of the back of the fact that they get the opening pick, send the Floods running back right into the knives that were awaiting in Aquin's hands.
And Aquin gets a second great pick right here on to Greeks. Phenomenal use of the knife, phenomenal use of the flank, and now that forces Greeks to be a lot more creative with his tripwires, knowing that Aquin's going to look to push you even if he doesn't have the op, like we just saw, and now he wants to kill an A short, but he does get blinded. As you said, Fuffy, that's how you deal with the op. You blind him, you use your utility, and you force him to run away, but he gets the collateral!
No. All of the utility that they just used there was for nothing because it telegraphs where they're pushing in and lets Aquin line up a beautiful shot. Plastic Sleep has gone up here into heaven, but unlike previous rounds, they can't find anything. WASD starting to come online, and a flawless round. Southeast looking hot to trot as we head into the final round.
Get another great look at this collateral. They expel a flash. They use the dog. They even get some damage. They're feeling good, and Aquin lines it up on Pryor and Tracker. We're guaranteed a tie at the half, though, because of the Flood's early start. And with a full bye coming out, they have a chance to win this, but they've got to predict where Aquin is. He's going to look mid this time.
Oh, I love it. And the reposition. They cannot be ready for this. The slow peek out, and Aquin should be ready to just absolutely destroy anyone waiting. A miss. That's awkward. But re-aggression might not be expected. Cypher Cam, the smoke, going to force them back as the Omen on to Omen pick. And the Floods have an advantage heading into this one. There are still 2 players on the site. The teleport, not heard, but still dealt with by Orbit. And Aquin getting the pick.
Getting
a second means that now Pryor has to go big. Coming up around the side, 2 on the spray down, goes down and leaves Rafa in a very tough clutch position. WASD and Aquin are the 2 star players for Southeast, but Rafa does have a clear path into site where they can plant.
Gonna plant it right in the middle. Gonna rotate up into heaven.
Oh, I love this. Aggressive. Aquin with the op cannot be ready. They're in front of the flash. But Aquin having swapped over to that Vandal, the fact that they double up means that they are ready for anything that Rafa can throw at him. It would have been a trade if they didn't get it initially, and they do. 6-6. We go even. This match looking a lot more competitive than that first one.
Got a lot like Bind last time for Southeast, where they went to overtime in the Infernos in Game 2 of last week's Grand Finals. 6-6 at the half, but you have to say, at least in my opinion, Fuffy, this feels like Southeast map to lose. They won 4 of the last 5 rounds. Aquin has figured things out with the op. Little harder attacking-wise to pull off the op on Bind, but again, those last 4 of those last 5 rounds were dominated by Southeast, even though the Floods put in a good effort and had a couple of insane near clutches.
Yeah, We say near clutches, though, so they might have expended a little bit of their energy too early. Didn't get anything. We'll see if they can keep going or if they will fizzle out in this next half. As A short, the area of focus for Southeast, just probing forward for a pick. WASD in that bathrooms position. They're over at Showers looking for a fight of their own. No fights given over. Instead, it's just a Phoenix Molly. The hot hands up in their face, and they're going to respect it. Back up and look for anyone coming from B, as there's one player up on the flank already onto a fight, and Jim wins it out. They left one player on B to push forward because they thought it was A, but the reroute from Southeast means that they can get in here, but at the same time, the rotation from the Floods has already come through. Fights all across the map, and they are one out by the Floods, 4-on-2, looking like they're going to win this first round in our second half.
Osley and Jim want to do. Looking B, feels like a teleport play to A. His tracker will go reinforce over to A. It's a 2-on-2, no matter which site. But you win one, and that is a long rotation for the rest of your team. Is Jim looking for the blind? You get the ping on to sleep. Osley seeing just his gun barrel.
They have a flash
They
to
get the
clear this,
pick.
but instead just straight through the wall. The smoke going down defensively. And they have to be wary of another player up close and a second wallbang kill. Jim, what the heck? He doesn't even need to see his enemies to finish them off. Now tracker coming up. It's a 2-on-2 retake, and suddenly Southeast has shifted into the advantage.
The heal onto Jim, put him at full health. Looking for the pistol round ace, which would be huge. Put Southeast in their first lead of the night. Osley gets one. It's all up to Tracker, who was right behind, and Jim's going to win it with 10 HP. It's a 4K for the Omen. And the Seminoles have their first lead of the night.
I am loving this play. The fact that Osley is proactive enough to push forward, sees that there's a gap in that smoke, and actually utilizes it to take a fight, winning it out, and then they just play together. Yes, they didn't see where that player came from, but immediately both of those crosshairs turned, and it was Jim to grab the headshot and grab Southeast. A 7th round. Winning the pistol means that they get off to an early advantage here in this half after they were playing from behind for so long in the prior. Again, they look for a pick heading forward, but instead Pryor actually getting that pick.
Ooh, dog just missed.
Oh,
Tracker
no.
with the shorty. Gets one, though Jim will take him out. Again, this is the buy round, though, off the pistol. So any pick is huge if you're a Floods fan or a Floods player. Osley, at least will get the plant down.
This is where they just have to hold their nerve. They can't get aggressive into a one-on-one and give away any of these SMGs that they have. Instead, what they need to do is just play this together. Osley looking forward, trying to find information, and will get it. So Orbit swings off, but goes 1 for 1. A little bit awkward, but Osley here to calm things down with Jim. One player left, and it's a super low HP classic.
You got to go in this round, though. You don't get anything for saving with the classic if you're Pryor.
You could just wait for exits. Perhaps they just want to play for one pick and not win it. Perhaps they're just going to fall to this spike, runs into the crosshair of Osley. Southeast 8-6. They've won it out. They have 2 SMGs. They have decent money to buy into this one, but they might be on a worse buy because of how many early picks they gave over to the save.
Anytime Aukwin's on me up, though, that's a fine buy if you're a Southeast fan. And the thing for the Floods, this feels like, I mean, obviously once you lose the pistol round, you're not expected to win the next round. It's just the way that Valorant goes. Rip a timeout here, right? You need something to stop the momentum because Southeast has taken control of this game. Maybe you win on your full buy round. We will have to see.
I like this off angle from Tracker. The problem is, if there's a player in Showers, they could just get absolutely wrecked. However, no one up close Showers. They drop all that utility anyways. See the dog come in, and Aukwin waiting patiently at long, gets one, grabs a second onto a player trying to wrap them. Such game sense, such awareness as they grab that one, but Orbitix not aware of the close player. Into a 3-on-3. Southeast spread across the map. And just finding picks everywhere. Aquan getting those 2, and now WASD has grabbed one on A, so they're just going to group up to take it. Greeks waiting here. He's one player, but Cypher can seem like an entire team with the ability of his traps to try to hold it down. Tripwire catching one, but that draws his attention for WASD to get the kill. Plastic Sleep, the last player, into a 1-on-3. It's going to be very tough with essentially multiple full health players to find. They have a flash and 2 smokes, so they can try to catch anyone short-sighted. However, just as they run in, a very smart backup and a very smart regroup. Aquan here to take the angle, wins out the fight. And the Floods, they fall in the first gun round. As you said, maybe they wanted to take a timeout before. Maybe
there it is.
They need to do it now. And finally, a smart play to just try to reset this and gain some momentum back.
That is 7 of our last 8 rounds in Southeast's favor right there. And I mean, the question becomes, how do you stop Aquan, right? I mean, you can't burn flashes offensively just to stop the Opera. I mean, what are you going to say? Don't peek B long, don't peek mid, don't peek A short, don't peek bathrooms, and just hope they push into you. I mean, Aquan, we were, wondering, he's a little bit lacking in our first couple rounds. He's absolutely taking control of this game and probably the last 5 rounds.
I would say that what they really need to be doing is, if they want to challenge a longer angle where the op could be holding, they need to use a flash. They have 2 characters that have these flashes that are great, usually on attack. And so if they want map control, if they want flanks, they need to be safe and flashing every angle, because if they peek it just like that, they will fall, and it will be very tough. Orbit, tagged down by that Cypher wire, but Aquan is picking them apart piece by piece, just slowly clearing these angles, winning every single fight due to just the power of that sniper rifle.
Spike planted.
Pryor stuck up close, looking for a fight. Stinger gonna be good for that one, but now up at long range, Aquan is awaiting. They will get healed up, but full HP doesn't matter against an op. Aquan one more, looking for the 4-piece to close this one out. Rafa does have the flash to burn, swing in, gets one, Ossily to finish, and Southeast High School have double digits. Going flawless here in this first half. 4 rounds already, only need 3 more to close.
How do you come back from this if you're the Floods? You don't have the Opper on your team to match Aquan. You don't even have the Jet to have the mobility, but no one for the Floods has even thought about buying an op. As you said, you have to almost pretty flash every peak. Though you are the defenders, so they do eventually have to come to you. That is your one advantage. But, I mean, no one wants to play a defensive game where you're not allowed to peek ever.
Yeah, perhaps if they can get some crossfires set up, if they can get angles where they can trade, they can try to force Aquan into one-and-done spots. And that's really the one place that they can sort of trade them out. And once they've traded that out, it becomes a little bit easier. Pryor slipping right past this drone. Orbitix is dead. Finished off and already so close. They are not ready for that aggression. The Floods, now they have the spike down, and now in a disadvantaged situation, it only gets worse as Greeks picks Jim in showers.
Here comes Aquan, as well as WASD. They're going to try and pinch Pryor, who's guarding Spike. Pryor's going to try and take the challenge onto the op. Gets shot in the back, though, but a great flick! Can't quite finish him off, but the paint shells will. And Pryor with the solo 4K hard carries the Floods to their first win this second half.
That was beautiful from Pryor, realizing the timing that they had to get up there. Past the Owl drone, grabs 2 kills, gets spiked down, finds 2 more to finish it off. And from here, I think Southeast might think about taking a timeout if they can't get something going off the back of the purchase in this round, because their money's going to be in a tough spot.
Run it
Tracker,
back immediately.
Ooh. The ult, the flash, and through the wall,
Huge.
Doubles up.
Spike down B.
The ability for Tracker to just throw caution to the wind after using that ultimate. The problem is they can't get out of the position that they're in, and suddenly, after gaining an advantage, it all goes the wayside. Greeks will get his cage up and can play around it here to try and defend the site. Oh, a great headshot onto WASD. Now, with the spike drop, Southeast are back into the disadvantage. Elbow, the push is held, but Plastic reloads at just the wrong time. 2 on 2. Ult's gonna reveal these positions. Aquin already up close, finished off by Greeks, and this last player doesn't stand a chance against the Battle Cypher here on B.
And a huge play from Greeks to just rip the Neural Theft. I absolutely love that play. Even in a 3-on-2, says, you know what? I have no idea where they are. I need that assistance. I love the aggressive Cypher ult there. And then just a huge win. And back-to-back kind of solo clutch rounds. Greeks only picks up 3 this time, but a huge win onto Aquin and Orbitix at sub 30 HP. And now, interestingly enough, they've given Plastic Sleep the op. If Southeast wins, they potentially get a free op handed over to Aquin.
That could be a rough position. This is a rough one here. Pryor just uses the shorty. They have a rifle, but they don't need it. 2 immediate kills, and Tracker finding a double of their own. Plastic can now get the last one. Yes, it's not flawless. Yes, they lose 1, but winning a round that fast, I think that's it. That's the momentum shifter that they needed. The Floods so close to tying this one up, and all of the confidence, all of the wind in their sails to try to get to victory.
Absolutely huge from Pryor with the double short. We hadn't seen a bathroom play all night. A double shorty kill. They just push right into him. Absolutely huge. And you said maybe Southeast rips a timeout here, especially if the Floods tie this one up.
WASD does have a rifle, and they have a great advanced position to force Pryor off from the peak. Aquin gonna get flashback, not connecting their shot, but at least clearing out long. And they're pushing up close. 2 players around this smoke, ready for the fight. Plastic's shot goes wide. The nade gonna push him back. Those paint shells great at denying area there for this attacking side. They have to reset, but they figured out where the op is. And they've gotten some good map control, so I would put Southeast in an advantage, especially with that pick.
This time, WASD waits to peek the angle. And now Aquin can look for a pick to get revealed by that spy dart. Gonna pick up that alt orb as everybody rotates over to B, so Plastic Sleep now and Tracker basically both neutralized.
Greeks, though, we've seen him defend this site single-handedly and has Rafa here to help them out. And ult, so there's a 3rd player here. Yes, the Seekers come in, but it is a genius decision. A rotate back over. WASD has a short, so they know that no one has flanked onto them. And A site completely open for the business. 20 seconds, plenty of time for them to get it down. And they now force the Floods to be the ones to come to them.
Greeks gonna... Actually, never mind. Plastic Sleep, who has the op, is going to look through a push through mid. And they're going to push right into Aquin, but they might get the flank as Aquin, not paying attention, predicts the rotate, though. Oh, Rafa might find him looking the wrong way, and he will. That is a huge pick.
Yeah, that makes this one doable, and Greeks makes the Vandal sing out. So much damage, though, here on the side. Orbitix and Ocelot playing together. The fact that they double up is great for that first fight, but now it means that Greeks could try to get him. Perfect flash, though. Ocelot saving that one right for the perfect time and gets Southeast 11. Right as I thought the Floods were going to tie it up, things shift again.
That is the one thing that I think Southeast have in their pocket. We talk so much about Aquin. Ocelot, sometimes the kills aren't there because of the judge usage, but they put on a clinic with how to use your Sky utility. They're almost always landing flashes. They saved that one for the perfect moment when Greeks was starting to pop off. And now it feels like maybe Plastic Sleep forcing the op a bit too hard.
Yeah. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough from here. Is the Hunter's Fury going to be popped? They're looking for something that is information?
I don't think they tagged anyone.
I don't think he did hit it. It looked very close, though. At least has cleared out anyone playing this site. They're going to try to wallbang in towards U-Haul. They have a 1-2-1-1 in these sort of 4 corridors of the map. Going to have to eventually back up to take a site, but right now, they're just letting their individuals search for a pick.
Full rotation now towards that A short. Well, at least Aquin will rotate up, maybe look for a pick onto Plastic up in heaven with the op battle. Meanwhile, the spike rotates over to Hookah. Greeks might have seen that.
Ooh, Orbit knows that the U-Haul player had to back up, running away from that drone. Now Pryor's going to retake that position as they just look to move on over into the site. I love that use of the ultimate. It's an information gatherer. However, Pryor has done the same thing, gathering information that the lurker is down. Aquin out of the round, and the rest of Southeast falling around them. Tracker, great shots through the wall, denies Jim in that corner position. WASD, this is a 1v5 clutch. I do not think they can win.
They're just going to simply walk away. They will take the save.
Ooh, they want the op.
Yeah, they
there
do.
it
There
is.
it is. They get the op for Aquin. And this next round lets us know if we have overtime or not, or will the Floods battle back?
This should be a timeout here.
Yeah, this is a good take of the timeout for the Seminoles after a crazy run. And what do you think has changed? I mean, they won 5 straight rounds. Is it the Floods adapting? I mean, what have you noticed the biggest difference between those 6 or 5 straight rounds we saw in the second half for the Seminoles and the Floods slowly chipping away at that now in our last few rounds?
I would say it's Flood members getting proactive, where Aquin just happens to not be, or finding Aquin on a timing. Because Aquin can really only focus one place, and they're such a smart player that they usually pick the right one. But if they can just sort of play around this instead, you know, get focused on A short, take that map control so that they can rotate B, or vice versa, as long as they don't get picked off early, it makes these rounds very doable for the Floods, and that's what we've seen them bringing into this one. Though now Aquin looking to push up forward, they're going to have to somehow smoke off Plastic Sleep. Instead, it's just a duel. Straight up, immediate shot landing. Plastic Sleep's favorite position there, denied in heaven. And now that they've lost a pick, it just gets real tough for them. They have rotated into A. This is the correct call, leaving only one player advanced there in long. And so Rafa can lock down Showers. With that being locked, it means that these short players just tuck tail. They turn back to B. Back to Hookah. They have to clear the individual angles, but it should be simple. And this is the duel that decides it all. Whether or not this Phoenix can hold it down on their own on B. Tracker getting the first. That's something as Pryor comes up, and they can! 3 kills for Tracker, locking it there on this site, leaving it all in the hands of WASD, who only has a Sheriff to try and get something. Good attempt on the shots, but Tracker grabs a 4th, and the Floods up 11-11, another great individual play for them.
And that was an interesting round because that was Aquin and 4 pistols. That was an op at 4 pistols that they opted for, and it was basically kind of like the Aquin solo carry round. So interesting choice. They can full by this time, and Aquin had enough for the op, so I understand them maybe doing that they are going to be forced to downgrade a bit there on WASD with the Bulldog. Interesting they kind of went for the Aquin solo carry round that last time, or at least tried to, but it got shut down by Tracker in a heartbeat with that Odin over on B side.
Yeah, I like the fact that Aquin shows that they can also push forward to get an opening pick. The problem is they do that in that round, and now in this one, sort of they've showed one of their cards. They've showed one of the plays that they like to go for. A nice boombot gets a little bit of damage, and a nice shot from Tracker, getting a pick. Gonna get a flash straight into their face and finish off by Jim. Now the heals can come through, but Greeks is here to anchor this site.
It's a 4-on-2, no Aquin. What can Osley and WASD? They're probably the two of the top 3 players for Southeast. They're just going to be forced out. You can see Rafa there is holding that A short rotation though.
And do they read it?
I don't think so. You see Wasser running with the knives, barely peeked the corner, but it wasn't in time. Gets the blind, and the Floods are on match point, Fuffy, against our reigning champions.
That is a matchmaking mistake coming through. Doing the half clear, just sort of as they swing around, we'll see them here clear this corner. They give it a slight look, thinking, you know, I might as well put my crosshair there for a moment. But they don't believe it. They don't fully commit to the clear, and so Rafa gets the double. Great use of the flash. Rafa and Osley both just sitting in that third top fragger position, but providing a lot of utility for their team. As in this round, Pryor is the one who's picked up the op and hit a great shot, doing their best Jet impression to just dash on out of there.
Run it back. Burns down Aquan, who had popped the knives. It's an awkward eco as well. The Empress has to get burned, but it's Spectres and Pistols for Southeast on match point, and every ult is coming out here for the Floods. The Seekers will come out onto gym and bathrooms. WASD is there as well with the lone Vandal for the team and the Empress.
Yeah, I think Southeast isn't using their Omen smokes effectively enough to get executes to come in, because instead they're taking dry fights and losing them out. Operator getting that one, a jump peek from Jim. Gonna know that Pryor is there, but what can you do, buddy? Spectre up against an op. You do not want to take that fight, and even smoked off, shot through the wall, down to 5 HP. It's basically just WASD to try to clutch this one. We saw them win a round out around Showers before. That was last time on Bind, and even then their team dropped it, looking close to dropping this one, but WASD does not drop that frag. Swinging through the heel up from that Reyna orb means that they can tank the op shot from Pryor, even get the spike down. WASD and Jim, barely any health between them, looking to clutch this one out. But Tracker has denied so many bullets in that Odin and only needs one to connect onto Jim for the Floods to win this entire thing. He's playing up close, getting swung, and Pryor's three-piece closes it out. Southeast High School can't even pass the first challenge.
Absolutely crazy, and it was such a back and forth round. The Floods start out incredibly fast. They go up 5-2. Then the Southeast Seminoles win 7 rounds in a row at one point. They're 3 rounds away from the win, but the Floods clutch it up. An incredible amount of solo performances. I mean, Rafa had a huge round. We saw there at the final part there with Pryor picking up a huge round. Incredibly, last week champions is knocked out. And we will see who comes away next week with our grand finals in week number 8. But if you want to be seen by expert college recruiters, talk directly to esports industry insiders like pro athletes, team general managers, and game producers, then join the club. Esports Tower players get insider access to entry insights with our featured rumbles. Recruiters are taking notice as well. It's a great way to score exposure if you're looking to start your path to pro or land a collegiate scholarship. An absolutely wild set of games. But before we get to that, though, we do have Rake from the Esports Tower here joining us, because that was a crazy last round. We saw last week's champion get knocked out. But we've got more around the corner. You've got the club championships coming up on the 17th to end the fall season. Can you tell us a little bit about that event, what we should expect to see in our final Rumble event in Valorant for the fall?
Absolutely. Thank you, Fish. And what you can expect is you're going to see all of the players that you've seen throughout the years in Esports Tower, excuse me, the months in Esports Tower, where you have some guys that came in over the summer that maybe had to stop for football during the year. They'll come back, and they're going to be playing in this championship. They're going to be competing against each other, and it's going to be really competitive.
We hear there's going to be a lot of eyes on these club championships. Can you tell us more about that? Who else is going to be watching this conclusion to the fall Valorant Rumble season?
We've been doing a lot of hard work in finding the best of the college recruiters and scouts, and we're excited to say that we're going to have a ton of scouts there at the Rumbles, and they're going to be in the voice chats. They'll be waiting to hear from you guys, so strap in. It's going to be a really busy scholarship season for these kids.
Well, you hinted that there's going to be names returning. I mean, I could have a whole list of teams I'm excited to see. But what teams are you excited about seeing in the club championship this week?
You know, I think of the Rocket League teams of the old Barracudas and with Quez, Prod, and and the new addition of actually the new Drift. There was the old Drift, now there's the new Drift. So there's going to be that combination of teams that I'm going to see, and I'm actually excited to see the Flood really kind of take over. I see someone like Pryor, and he's fantastic. I've seen him like at the beginning of Esports Tower struggling to get out of the quarter rounds, and now look at them now. Like Pryor got the final kill in that last game, and he's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, the huge upset there for the Seminoles. I mean, Week 8's going to be hype, not even to mention the Club Championship. And final question again, Club Championships for the Valorant and all of the other Rumbles going to end up on that 17th. Wrap up this fall season. You're a coach of the program, someone who works with these players, as you said, every week. What have you enjoyed most about the fall season? And as a follow-up, what are you looking forward to in the winter season for the Esports Tower?
As far as fall season goes, I've really liked this. I've really liked how the Rumbles have turned out. It's just such good viewership. The kids have loved it so far. And to be honest, in the future, I'm more excited to do even bigger and better tournaments. Even more special tournaments like we did over the summer with Rocket League. We have the All-Star Cup. And I would love to do stuff like that again. That stuff was really great. And I think all of the game titles will be really excited to join in on events like that.
Club Championships for Esports Tower coming up on the 17th as we put a bow on the fall season. Again, thank you so much for joining us, Frank. I can't wait to see all the old faces come back. It'll be a nostalgia trip of only a few months ago. Cannot wait. Thank you again so much for joining us.
Thanks, Fish.
As we look forward to that, Fuffy, we need to look back on that game we just had, though, as we talked about. A huge upset that opens the bracket up in terms of who your favorites are. And I want to give you the floor and let you talk about what you saw in that game on Bind, how the Floods were able to pull off a huge upset, turning things around and eliminating Week 7's champion in Southeast High.
Yeah, really, I would say that this one is all about the Seminoles sort of dropping the ball. I don't think they had any strategies to fall back on besides Aquan go kill. And that put them in an awkward spot because even when Aquan got the advantage, they would just get mowed down. They didn't have coordinated smokes, coordinated flashes, and executes to try to get into these sites. And it made Bind look like a pretty weak map for them when they were on that attacking side. On the other hand, the Floods, some amazing individuals who showed up there defending. Tracker with a lot of great multi-kills, pulling out the Odin. Pryor pulling out the AWP and making it look great. The Raze AWP, a little bit surprising, but overall just a wonderful showing from the Floods.
That is the one thing that I'm curious is the Floods were so scared to op, and then finally they get a free one. They're like, oh, Plastic, you give it a shot. Plastic had some good and some bad, and then they give it to Pryor. He pops off, as you said. Maybe including the op is the way to go. But I think that one interesting thing is we have the blueprint now to beat the Seminoles, but I will say in their defense, Bind's the only maps we've seen them lose on in the Esports Tower. It was an overtime and a 13-11. For their weakest map, they're still making it a run for their money in terms of pulling off a victory over them. So if they work on Bind like 5%, they're going to be a very scary team because every other map they look so strong on.
Yeah, I think they just need a little bit of practice in, get those Omen smokes to block off angles so that the op doesn't pick them apart. Get the flashes with your teammates so that you can just run right into those sites, and then their attacking side will look a lot scarier. Because they had a great comeback there on defense. They started looking really good towards the end of that first half.
Yeah.
And then things sort of just barely fell apart on the end due to some amazing individual plays from the Floods.
Well, speaking of individual plays, it is time for our Idaho Central Credit Union Player of the Night. Fuffy, there's a lot of very interesting choices. If you want to go back to our landslide series, I thought Froyo maybe was your player there, absolutely popping off. But who do you have as your player of the night from our bracket stage of Week 8, at least the quarterfinal stage, I should say?
I think the landslides game was too much of a landslide to really focus in on any of those players. So instead, in this one, I think there were some good individuals that showed up at the end, but really the one player that consistently always had impact was Aquan. So I would put them as the player of the game.
even despite the loss, I do like that pick. Because as you said, the strategy at times for the Seminoles was awkward. I mean, look at that 2 rounds before they lost. It was an op and 4 pistols, and they still had it down to, I think, a 3-on-2 at one point because Aquin is just so talented. I'll look on the other side. I'll give a shout-out to the same player we saw Rake give a shout-out to. I thought Pryor was phenomenal on that raise. We've seen some raises have issues in the Esports Tower with that mobility, but the double in bathroom as well was just so phenomenal. This was so good. They're losing it. If you mess this up, you lose the game most likely. That is such a huge call to take that, and he ends up holding the spike. He picks up a 4K in this round. Spoilers if you didn't see it. That was a phenomenal carry in that round in particular.
That was the moment where the Floods really turn it around. I don't think that Pryor was just doing fine prior to this moment, but once they started getting going, finding that amazing timing, finding that amazing positioning to get a double there in showers, and even helping their team close out the game, I think they're a great pick for player of the game because even though they weren't really there at the beginning, once they showed up, they were the factor to win it all out.
Player of the game brought to you by Idaho Central Credit Union. Leaves a great player, makes a team more successful. Just like Idaho Central's helping members achieve financial success. Pryor is your ICCU player of the night for our quarterfinals in week 8. I will say the other thing that I really like that you saw in those replays, they're losing. It's 10-6, 10-8. He's playing aggressive. He's not saying, oh, I can't lose. I can't be the one to lose the round. He's like, I need to be the one to win the round for my team, and I thought that was huge. Cannot wait to see them next week. Again, we'll have the Floods, we'll have the Infernos, as well as the Landslides in one of our semifinals, and then we'll have our grand finals for next week. Cannot wait to see. And then we've got the club championships as well. Well, do you have any final thoughts? I mean, we had a blowout, then we had a very, very tight game. Fuffy, your final thoughts on the first part of our Week 8 Rumble?
I think that the Landslides are just on a collision course with whoever looks like the strongest team. The fact that they just ran over this, I am very excited heading forwards to see them face against some real opposition. No offense to Monsoon's Red, but they just couldn't deal with the executes. And once you stop the executes, then it goes down to those individuals and sort of adapting in the mid-round, and that's what I'm very curious to see coming out of them because they're a newer team. There's a lot more unknowns, and so it's going to be exciting to see them develop. And on the other side, the Floods, they come in strong, and they're going to continue this forward. Yes, it's a close win, but it's a close win against the Seminoles. So 2 very good-looking teams heading out of this one into those semifinals, potentially even the grands.
And I will say the final note on the Landslides, as you mentioned, they didn't even have their best player in tonight. I mean, Prestige, we've seen week after week after week after week pop off. Right up there was he was the spearhead alongside Mr. Memphis for their 7 straight championships in the spring. He wasn't even there. He was busy. I'm told he will be able to join them for the semifinals and the grand finals potentially. So imagine 13-1-ing and saying, oh, yeah, we're going to get better next week, by the way. Just so everyone's clear. I cannot wait to see if they're on a collision course. Maybe they get upset, though. Next week is going to be phenomenal. It was an exciting night of matchups once again in our Valorant Rumble. Back next week, same time to see which 2 teams make the grand finals and who will be crowned as this Week 8 champion. Whoever wins next week will be the last regular season champion of the fall and have a lot of momentum heading into those club championships we were just hyping out. And I cannot wait to see all of the old faces and all of the games coming back. Again, in Rocket League, the Barracudas are going to be a ton of fun. Cannot wait for those club championships. As a reminder, though, the conclusion of this Esports Tower Valorant Rumble will be next week, Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Mountain Time, right here on the Boise State Twitch channel. We'll close out now with the top 5 presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 jobs, offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is one of the best teams out there. Here are your top 5 plays from the quarterfinal round of our Week 8 Valorant Rumble. Heading back and forth, going to go up into elbow on B. If I'm Rafa here, I kind of like the Seeker's Rip just to try and win this round.
That's true. Maybe after they get a pick, though, because if you just lose a fight like that, I would say it's unwinnable, but instead, Rafa wins them both. Yeah, I like how they've grouped up here and are just pushing through mid. Sova ult going to try to clear angles, but there's no one there, and eventually they'll realize that A side's open because the hard flank is coming in. Their own Viper Wall, though, is blocking this off. The flash is great, but the spray even better. Somehow, Landslides. I'd almost like to see a save if they have the discipline.
Have Seekers and the Viper ult, so neither of those are great when you're looking for a retake. Vapor's going to get a double. It's all up to Sunny Lee. It's a triple for Vapor, and it's a flawless for the landslides. And just like that, they're back in command. Playing in now, that forces Greeks to be a lot more creative with these tripwires, knowing that Aquan's going to look to push you even if he doesn't have the op. Like we just saw, and now he wants to kill an A short, but he does get blinded. As you said, Fuffy, that's how you deal with the op. You blind him, you use your utility, and you force him to run away, but he gets the collateral!
This round that the Monsoons can use to retake, and so they will into this 4-on-4. Boone just going to try to reveal where the defenders are coming from, but it doesn't matter if they know where they're coming from because the bullets are coming onto heads. It's that Doc's key, just click heads! Amazing!